serve it is up. Yep.
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 See
Yeah, I
if
could.
my screen changed it.
I could see a little icon flash up, but couldn't hear any sound.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yes. Well, I can. Glad I spoke for everyone there.
Good evening again, everyone. How we doing?
Hey.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Pretty good. Not sure if Rangy is coming. He said he was gonna.
Damn it, this thing is about to stop on full tanks.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to another endurance race Wednesday night for RaceRoom Experience. I'm Scotty G. I'll be your commentator tonight for this throwdown at Watkins Glen International Raceway, located at 2790 Country Road 16, Watkins Glen, New York, United States. You get lost in Google's Maps, just listen for the sound of these things, you can't miss them. Tonight's race is going to include two different classes. We've got the Group C and the GTO Classics. Tonight's brought to you by RaceRoom Racing Experience, and I'm going to bring up the screen now. There's Watkins Glen. Let's go. Starting off with the GTO Classic car pack, there's three cars in this one. We have the 300 ZX and the Z32, and this car is a bit of a mixed match of parts put together to generate over 700 horsepower out of a V6 engine running two turbos. It's a 3-liter V6 pushing absolute monster from the folks down at Nissan. Moving right along, we have the Ford GTO, the IMSA Ford GTO, and this is the later model of it with the V8 engine. So it's I believe it's a 6-liter V8, pushing out 650 horsepower. This one is, however, naturally aspirated. Beautiful sound, lots of power in the engine. As you can see, it's 1,100 kilograms, or sorry, 1,100 pounds. So quite a light car, completely tube frame inside of this Fox body Ford. And last but not least, in the GTO Classics, we have the very recognizable Audi Quattro, running with a 2.2-liter inline-5 engine that defies physics with its turbos by generating 709 horsepower. And it puts that 709 horsepower down into all four wheels, as you can see with those very iconic BBS rims. This thing is rapid when you set it up correctly, and you can manage to keep it lined up on the track. Now, moving over to the much more psychotic Group C cars, we have two entries into this one. We have the Nissan R90CK, which is a mock-up of the R90C. They added a couple of extra little bits there, one of them being a boost in the horsepower. As you can see, it's almost 780 horsepower, running with 1,033 kilograms with the driver in it. That's a V8 engine, and this one is also turbo-powered, so watch out if you got this guy in your rear view. You're coming quick. Porsche also threw their hat into the ring with a 730 horsepower race car, the iconic Porsche 962C. Yeah, not much to say about this thing except for it's set a lot of records, and it's probably gone down in history as being the most terrifying car Porsche's ever developed. So look over the track, see who's racing what. And starting off, we've got Theo Lupu driving in the Porsche 962. Comments in the chat here that I can't hear my voice. I'll move myself up a little bit here, push myself into the red. If that's better there, let me know, guys, in the chat. Just a heads up, everyone, the VRP is not working tonight, so you can throw VRP stuff up in there, but you're not gonna win anything, unfortunately, tonight. The stream's not set up for it. I apologize. All right, good thing we got this out of the way in practice instead of waiting until the race to find out that I was too quiet. We're going to drive down through the leaderboard here from start to finish of all the cars. In the Nissan, we have John Wysork hailing from the States. Behind him, we've got Theo Lupu driving the Porsche 962. Theo Winsbury in the bright yellow Nissan. Same with Luis Lima. After him, we have Andre Franca driving the white Porsche. This one here is very similar to Theo's. However, you'll notice he's got a little bit less color on the nose of it, so we may be able to tell those two apart quick on the track. Rudolf Stein is driving a very similarly colored car. These two might be tough to tell apart as they're both running the 77 car, I believe. Yes, so those two are going to be very tough to tell apart on the track. And that rounds out the Group C racers. I'm sorry, actually we have one last entry. We got the red Nissan of Sun Idu coming in from Australia. So that should be very interesting once they get out on track to see the 7 of those out for a lap and a laugh. Moving down to the GTO class. Unmistakable Audi. Coming down into the start of the boot. Sorry, just coming out of the boot, I should say. And making their way towards the second to last corner before the front straight. Luke Filipponi's also jumped onto the Audi bandwagon, and rightfully so. That car is very quick around this track. David Fight's going to try to muscle the Nissan around the track here. This twin-turboed car at V6 is going to put a ton of power, and it wants to try to put the back end in front of the front end while you're driving. Hopefully we can he can keep the thing on the track for the entire race. And we can see the Roush Racing car of Lyndon Bingaman in the pits right now, just tucked in between the two Group C cars. Again, another car that loves to go sideways more than straight. Very enjoyable drive and remarkable sound, so we'll definitely have to hop on board for a couple laps with Lyndon. Randy Cruz has also jumped into an Audi. There's going to be, right now, 4 Audis in the race. Make that 3 Audis, one just dropped out. Hopefully they'll come back. Ryan Presosowski is driving in the Roush Racing as well. The American flag adorned on the side of it. Currently running a P7 with his practice laps, but that means nothing right now. This is just here for fun. 7 minutes left of this before we have to really start seeing what these cars can do. Fellow Canadian Calico Jack running around in the red Roush Racing Ford Mustang. So there's a couple of Ford fans here. The last one being Jeff Lacey in the other 1 and 2. Here you go, of the American flag Roush Racing Fords. And lastly, we have Sanidu in the Group C car. Hasn't set a lap time yet, but he is moving along in a very quick vehicle here. As you can see, they're passing through the inner loop. They're not inner loops left out for this, as they're trying to mock it up for the 1980s edition of the Watkins Glen track. So everything's very much the same to the current track. However, they added that inner loop just to reduce speed, so people aren't flying off the track into the corner following the straight. My track map's refusing to come up, so we'll go to event info. So today's event looks like a sunny and dry day, RaceRoom Classic. We have 2 kilometers of wind coming from an unknown direction, 31 degree temperature for the track temp, and 18 degrees air temp. I'm Scotty G. I'll be your commentary for the night. I'll try to keep it interesting and keep it light, keep it fun. You know, have some laughs with this. We've got 90 minutes to work through. Lots of good racing, and with these cars, lots of action to cover. I don't know about me being the MVP. I'm just here to commentate because I'm too terrified to drive these things. If anybody's watching the CR1 championship right now, I've learned very quickly how easy it is to get a car backwards in the wrong places after beaching my car for probably about a minute on the inside of turn 5, I think it was, of Sonoma, the downhill left-hander. Well, that's not very interesting to watch. Let's go to somebody else. There we go.
Our most important ingredient is saying no. Purely, no is beautiful. PronounceNames.com.
So it looks like we have 2 more entries into the race here. We have first Cheese Ball. So running the Nissan R90CX, or CK, sorry. And Felix Aprecio coming in from Spain, also driving, driving the GTO Nissan. Tonight's race is going to be an interesting one for pit strategies because, ooh, getting a little wild there. They're able to change their tire compounds, so that's one thing. Fuel's going to be another thing, and also engine mapping. So there's a lot of stuff that these guys can pick and choose their way through as they're going around the track and trying to maximize lap time while also minimizing time on lap. But as you can see, these monsters don't exactly want to go the direction you intend, and you can find yourself facing backwards on the track very quickly. The time progression for this race is, I think, just 1 times, so we shouldn't see the sky change colors and all these other, great graphic effects or anything like that. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen with this game, but in doing so, they can up the amount of performance and add all the cool sound features and everything else to the game with minimizing lag on the cars and the drivers themselves. We have a couple of cars parked here on the track. Not sure what's going on there. And blue first sector for Theo Lupu in the Porsche. He's flying around there. There we go. All right, time for 20 minutes. You can see they're going sideways out of the pits because everyone's eager to get out there first. Last thing you need is get stuck behind somebody who maybe doesn't have their setup quite tuned, and you're losing chances to get the fastest lap on the track. So John Wysork was the first one out of the pits there, going sideways in his Nissan. Right in behind him is the car of Rudolf Stein. He's probably going to gap just a little bit of time behind John. If you haven't seen John race before, he's quick in this thing, and we'll see where everyone falls in behind with him. I think Theo Lupu will come close, and I think Theodore Ensbury will also be quick to come around this track. And so we'll keep an eye on these guys as they go around the track. Hopping on board with John, we can kind of see how tight this track feels in this car because it's flying. It's doing well over 300 kilometers an hour in the straights, and with 700 plus horsepower at the bottom of your right foot, it's quick to get where you're going. Coming out of the boot, make a quick power down on the, oh, he's going to try to keep the power down. Heading back onto the main part of the track here, and then you have a hard left hand. You should be able to get through with just a lift. And here he brakes there. And into the final corner, onto the front straight, and here we go, full power. We'll take a quick lap around with John, and then we'll move our way down the pack as the drivers are trying to pull out of the pits and get out for their qualifying laps. Squirrely for John there. We might see him in the pits just after this. There you go, back into the pits. You can see how easy it is to get these cars away from you. As he was coming around the chute, that off camber downhill section can upset the car quite easily, and you'll find yourself backwards in turn 6 rather than on your way to turn 7. We'll hop over to Mr. Ensbury and see how he's faring out there. He's purpled sector 1 and sector 2, so he's flying right now. Generally, if you see those colors change from purple to green, it just means that someone else has taken the crown of fastest sector from you. If it's green, it means it's that person's fastest sector. So he is now set at 130.048. A great starting lap as he does a donut into the wall out of turn 1. Dangerous, dangerous turn 1. Theo Lupu a little more cautiously around the track here. He's sitting at about 1.5 seconds in behind Ensbury's time, but much more tidy driving here as he's pushing it up behind a GT class car. So you can see the speed difference between these Mustangs and the Porsches as they come into this corner. Theo will pull down the inside and put the power down and make a quick gap of that Mustang. Yes, similar to the 1992 DTM cars, these are limited in their onboard support for the drivers. Pretty much it comes down to how much guts you got when you want to go fast. So just a difference in pace there. Both of those cars are pushing at full speed, and the Audi was just getting left in the dust by that Porsche. So a slight margin in between Theo and Ensbury in sector 1, 0.354 as you can see. And he's into the final corner now into the front straight. Will slow down a little bit by lap traffic, so he'll hope to make up that time on this next lap as Theo comes across the start-finish line with a 130. It's not going to record it. 131.97, so good lap time there. San Ito just put down a 129.132. That's a quick lap. Very quick. Good spot there, JT. Theodore Enzi back on track in his Nissan. Gonna have another attempt here at the. Looks like he got a turn one very, very safe. He's on his second lap now. As he makes his way into the outer loop. This is a bit of a blind corner coming off there. The back straight used to be the original start-finish line for Watkins Glen before they changed it. That's why it's such a long straight and gave fans the ability to see the cars going full speed as they went by. But now they have two long straights for these cars to come through. Pop up some info here for Theo as he's going around. You can see some of the speeds that he's achieving. So through second gear for most of this part, and you will see how fast he can get up going here. So already at 235 kilometers an hour before he started turning in here onto the penultimate corner and into the final corner here at 150 kilometers an hour. So this is fast. This isn't a grocery getter. This is a rocket ship. Just about breaking 300 kilometers an hour down the front straight. And he's safely lapping through the first couple corners, moving his way onto the back straight here. This is where we're going to see a ton of pace come out of this car. So 335, 36, 37, 38. So 338 kilometers an hour as he puts on the brakes. Comes into the outer loop. Impressive stuff, these cars. The red Nissan Asana is out into the boot right now, into the toe. Coming around the uphill corner. This one's a bit, it can be a bit off-putting. You can find yourself wide very easily just because the track isn't have a nice camber to it. As he gets up into the heel. Again, another corner where you got to kind of take it easy before you spot your exit. Too early on the power, you're going to be sideways, and too late on the power, you're going to be behind somebody else who got into the throttle earlier than you did. Nixon recognizing he had not the best line there, pulling over. I think he's still on his out lap, so he's just giving the corner to Ensbury. Nothing wrong with his car. He just wants to make sure that coming into the final corner, he's got maximum speed to hit that front straight. Going down and seeing Cheese Ball in the Nissan. Like to talk to his old man about naming him that, but he's onto the back straight now in his Nissan. The pink livery. He'll be easy to spot in the pack out there. Hopefully he can keep it tidy and finish the race. Currently running around in P6. 7-second gap from the lead car. So he's a little bit of squirming under throttle there, side by side with the Audi. I think that was the Audi of Jared Spatak. Nope. Randy Cruz, sorry. He's pulled up alongside there as he watches. Ooh, narrowly missing the front end of Mr. Ball's car. So Randy Cruz has Theo Ensbury staring down the back end of his car. He's going to give him a bit of room here, running well wide into the second glass corner, and he's going to lose his lap time for doing so. So that's going to invalidate his lap. The track limits are the red and yellow curb you see there. As soon as you crest all four wheels over that, your lap will be invalidated, so he's going to have to try again. Lyndon Bigeman in his Roush V8. Coming down into the boot right now. Nice clean line. As you can see, the flames lick out of the side of the car. I always told myself, if I ever get a race car, the fire's got to come out of the door. I don't care what else features it has. It doesn't even have a windshield. I'll drive it and it can shoot fire. tidy driving from Lyndon Bigeman. Just ahead of Lyndon is the Ian McClure in the Secret Mustang. He's currently sitting down in 5th place right now. Coming into the final corner, we'll see how this goes. He's setting his best times around the track right now, so you could see himself move up the standings. There you go. So up into 2nd place goes Ian McClure with that lap for the GTO class. So a very rapid time. Jared Spetek still holding on to lead in his Audi. He's currently in the pits right now, so there's no point in watching him. Looking back at the green Nissan of John Wysor, because he's coming around with the back straight here. Pushing everything he can out of this V6. Oh no, oh no, 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 no. That's a bad way to put your race. Hopefully he doesn't end up doing that on track. I think he's still trying to sort his setup out. The Folgers, red Folgers car of Calico Jack. It's just coming into the final set of corners here. This barrier comes up really quickly. As you can see, he's squirming the car over to avoid it. You don't need to take suspension damage or worse aero damage and suspension damage as you're racing around here. These walls are very unforgiving. There's no give to them. So we'll come back to Calico after he's gotten close to the end of his lap. Felix Aparicio in his Newman Sharp Racing is finding out the throttle on these cars. It comes on hard. It doesn't. There's no build up. The turbo lag is minimal, and with almost 700 horsepower coming out of the car, it's wanting to go backwards and sideways, especially with those two snail shells just pumping air into that 3-liter V6. It's quite impressive what these cars can do, as being how small the displacement is compared to the V8 of the Ford. I mean, getting 700 horsepower of a 2.2 liter inline 5 is just physics breaking, I'm sure. I think Audi Penn to deal with the devil with that engine. So Naidu is back on his opening lap. As you can see, there's no time coming up for him underneath, so he's just getting that car warmed up for his hot lap. Move down to Theo Winsberry and see how he's doing. So he's back onto his out lap. And he's got himself down under half a second in behind Edu. We've got 6.5 minutes left in the qualifier. And after that, we're going to jump into the race. 90 minutes here at Watkins Glen. And this is the 1980s playout, so we won't see them past that inside loop. Those set of chicanes there with the cones in front. No need to go there. These cars are going to have a lot more speed coming into that corner, the outer loop, which is a blind start. And you can't get on the power too early, or else you're going to find the grass, or you're going to have the cars behind you banging into the front end of you. A little bit of a squirm there in the throttle from Theodore as he pushes past the car. I believe that was Felix. Yes. So Felix up there setting his best lap right now. Oh, as he cuts wide, and there you go. So he's found a new track direction. Unfortunately, he's parking it in the middle of it and gets himself straightened out. There you go. It's frustrating stuff there, Mr. Aparicio. Up in third place in the not the GT class, the Group C class, we have the fat Porsche of Rudolf Stein. One of 4 Canadians racing in today's race, so it's a huge showing from Canada. We've got 1 Australian, 1 Spaniard, and a Brit. So nice mix here. There's a couple of flags I can't quite make out on my board here, so I'm not going to try to guess where they're from. But yeah, good mix of countries here in the race tonight, and I'm happy to see we got 16 people in the server. just going to take a quick walk down the leaderboard here as we got 4 minutes and 20 seconds left in qualifier. So for the Group C folks, we've got Sanidu riding in first place. Behind him we have the yellow Nissan of Theodore Insbury. After him we've got they're all Yost Porsche Racing, so we're not going to go off that one. We got the number 77 car of Rudolf Stein. The number 7 car of Theo Lupu. The other number 77 car of Andre Franca. Cheeseball driving in the 23 car, and John Wysork, who probably will find himself up in the leaderboard here after he finishes his lap. If he can keep it between the white lines for the last sector. Looks like he's going to come safely across. We'll keep an eye on this one right now. So there you go, the 85 car of John Wysork moves himself up into P5 with that lap time, so he's found the setup that's starting to work for him. Good news for John Wysork. Down into the GTO class, Jared Svetek has probably gone to have a quick drink of water or a nervous pee before the race. Randy Cruz has followed him. Luke Filippone also in the pits. Ian McClure in the Ford. Lyndon Bingaman, who's still on track. He's on his outlap right now. Jeff Lacey in the other Ford. I don't know why he keeps showing us his views. Maybe we can get a little closer. Nope. How about here? Here? Nope, no views. We can't see them. Ryan Presosowski, he's pushing that Ford around. He's set a green first sector, so we'll see if he can set a green second sector and get himself up the leaderboard a little bit. He's currently riding in 7th place in the GTO class, so only up there from there for Ryan. Calico Jack has decided to put it back in the pit. He's going to make one last adjustment to his car. He may not have enough time to get back out on the track, so he may be set in at 8th position. And Felix Aparicio is going to push this car around for one last lap. Hopefully he can set something down. These cars are terribly unruly, especially when you're trying to make them go fast. So. Yes, somebody mentioned setups on here. Setups are huge in this racetrack. The flat setups of the cars are decent, but you're now driving to fight the car. The setups can definitely keep all 4 tires on the ground and also help keep heat where they need to be. As you can see right now, Felix Aparicio is having a bit of time struggling coming into the heel. He is keeping it on track, however, which is good for him. We're going to see if he finds the barrier here. Very close to the barrier as he is off throttle. Oversteer comes in. There you go, green second sector for him. So he's setting a great lap time for himself. He's got a minute 15. And onto the front straight. So he's run his first clean lap, and that will put him into 9th place for the GTO class. So he'll get to stay out there to try to get a little more time on the car. They're tough vehicles to master, and especially if you haven't practiced with them. We have had a change in the leaderboard here. Theo Insbury has come in with a 29.114, so he's less than 0.02 of a second ahead of Sanidu for the pole position. So that race is going to be very interesting between those 2 leader cars. How you doing, Augusto? Welcome to the North American RaceRoom. I'm your host for the night, Scotty G. We are at Watkins Glen International, and we are going to go through the list here quickly if I can get through them all. Theodore Insbury, Sanidu, Theo Lupu, Rudolf Stein, John Wysork, Andre Franca, Cheeseball, and then into the GTO class, Jared Svetek, Randy Cruz, Luke Filippone, Ian McClure, Lyndon Bingaman, and I ran out of people. Lyndon Bingaman, Jeff Lacey, Ryan Presosowski, Calico Jack, and lastly, Felix Aparicio. So hopefully he stays in the race. Points are points, so if someone else crashes and he makes up a couple positions, you know what? Go for it. Take it. So you see a slight time change there. The screen got a little bit more, shadows got longer, I should say. We should see the cars come out onto the track here soon. They've got 45 seconds to get their fuel in the car properly, get the car set up for the race, and we'll be lights out here in less than 30 seconds as we're starting to populate the start-finish line. And yes, the classic sim racing adage, good luck, have fun, turn one. So we'll see how that goes. We're 5 seconds away, last car is dropping in. We should see them bounce one last time before the lights flight up. Here we go. So an hour and a half of racing ahead of us. Car's nervously rumbling under the throttle. Lights out, and here we go. The Audi's diving into the center here as they're starting to overtake even the the Group C class cars, because they are they got the launch. Even though they're a different class, their power ratio is quite close. They're only maybe 50 to 60 horsepower difference. It's when the aerodynamics gets into play, that's where these cars really start shining. A little bit of a touch there between Jared Svetek and I believe that was Cheeseball, but everyone's safely out of the first corner. Jared Svetek's now out of the race. That's unfortunate. A very short race for Mr. Svetek. I think he may have got onto the wall there. That's terribly unfortunate. Set pole position and made it four turns into the race. So a sad retirement there from Jared. Moving up to the front of the track, we have Theo Lupu starting to gap almost a second and a half from Mr. Wysork. Behind him, we have Rudolf Stein, Cheeseball, Sonidu, and Theodore Ensbury in 6th position. Behind them, we have, I think we just had Rudolf Stein. Yes, Rudolf Stein just went sideways on the track, so he's going to lose a ton of time as he has to safely rejoin here. Unfortunately for him, he's going to be down in 15th place, so he's got a lot of work ahead of him to catch back up to the class that he's supposed to be with. Some terribly close racing here from the Ford and the Audi. So he makes a safe pass on Lyndon Bingaman, and he's going to start making his way forward to catch up the Group C classes. A bit of smoke there from the, I think that was Calico Jack maybe? Nope. We have mayhem here at the start finish line here. I think that may have been Cheeseball. Yes, Cheeseball had a bit of damage there. He put his car into the pit wall. I'm not sure what happened to him there, so he's going to take his time coming through in an unnecessary drive-through penalty. As he gets back out, you can see a fair bit of damage there on the front left of his car. I think he came into contact with the end of the pit wing. So Cheeseball's race is getting off to a hard start. The Audi of Luke Filippone is chasing down Jeff Lacey in the Ford as they come into the outer loop. This corner here is very like to set the car slipping. They're getting around there tidy as they come down the hill into the start of the boot. Right on the bumper, the car in front of him. Clattering over the grass as they pull down into the toes. Hard on the brakes. You can hear that turbo lag kicking, or turbo blow off, I should say, kicking. Those Fords pulling away just a little bit as they're making their way up the hill. The Ford of Jeff Lacey and Lyndon Bingaman side by side here. I think Jeff's going to make the overtake here. He is. He's going to make that one stick to and push himself up into 8th position as they come into the third to last corner. And Luke Filippone chasing it behind in 10th position. He's going to do his best to keep with those two Fords. He'll, that front wheel drive, essentially all-wheel drive, but the front wheel is working with him to keep that car pointed where it needs to go as he goes around the corner. Will give him a huge advantage. Back up at the front of the track, we have a very tight race going in between the Group C cars. We have John Wysork in the lead, Theo Lupu, Sonidu, and Theodore Ensbury make up the front 4 cars as we see Sonidu going wide into the grass, keeping it on track, however, and staying in front of Theo Lupu. I believe Jared had an out. I will be looking to see in the chat to see what happened to him. He may have also had a game crash as well. I did see him make a bit of a swerve as he was out on track, so it's hard to say what caused that one. So we have Lyndon Bingaman and Luke Filippone. Luke Filippone making the pass on the inside of Luke as they come around, or sorry, Lyndon, sorry, as he's now chasing down the forward of Jeff Lacey. Coming around the toe, heading back up the hill, the boots. You're probably wondering every once in a while you'll see like a cage curling over the side of the racetrack. That's car catching. So as cars come around these corners, they're going quite fast. NASCAR especially going quickly, and they like to lose it. If you ever watch NASCAR, it's probably one of the things people look for is the crashing cars. So these keep the mayhem on the track instead of in the stands. In front of the pack here, Theodore's are chasing each other down. I think Theo is going to lose a position here to Theodore Insbury as they go into the outer loop down the hill. So Nissan overtaking the Porsche of Theo and chasing down the red Nissan of San Idu. It looks like John Wysork has found his pace out in the lead. He's got himself a 1 second lead on San Idu, and he's keeping it very tidy as he goes around the track. Back down to the battle in the GTO class here. We're going to hop on board with Ian McClure and his Ford as he's coming in behind Lyndon Bingaman, and in front of him is Luke Filippone. So an unfortunate turn of events, Jared is out of the race because of computer issues. So he, in between quali and race, he lost his race room and couldn't get it back. That's an unfortunate way for things go, especially with sim racing. Anything can happen. So we'll chalk that one up to a blown engine for Jared Svedtek after setting qualifying time at the start of the race. Position 2, San Idu has made up a little bit of time on John Wysork as they come up the front straight. We'll watch and see what happens here. John was struggling a little bit with the boot here in qualifying and in practice, so we'll see if he can keep it tidy coming around this part of the track. I'm sure San is going to push him to his limit as they're coming down the hill. Theodore Insbury has about a 2.5 second in behind them, and then almost 2 seconds to Theo Lupu after that. So this front four have spaced out quite a bit from what was a very tight start to the race. But we are only about 8 minutes into this race, so there's plenty of racing ahead of them, and there's plenty of lap traffic to deal with as we do have a dual class race going. Back down in 10th position, Lyndon Bingaman is chasing down Luke Filippone's Audi. He's about a 1.5 seconds behind him, but behind him is Ian McClure in the other Ford, and he's holding himself less than half a second in behind, so this is quite tight racing between these two. Everyone appears to be having a fairly tidy race. The GTO classes are all running on the default tires, so there's no hard or soft for these guys, unfortunately, so there's no advantage to be gained. I think the advantage will come from the fuel strat or pit strategy. Calico Jack. Looks like he's starting to turn the screws a little bit here on Ryan Presosowski, building that pressure as they're coming out of the back end of the track, out of the woods, if you will. Watkins Glen is actually in the middle of farm country, so there are roads passing through it. If you look it up on Google Maps, you can see it kind of borders on somebody's property. Pretty nice property, I think, to go down and watch racing whenever you feel like it. But we watch Calico Jack and Ryan here make their way into the penultimate corner. Love that word. Very high speed corner. Getting a little bit wide is Presosowski, so he might lose a bit of time there. Unfortunately for coming off track, you might see it come up on the board as being off track. I think he got away with that one. He just got a warning, so no time to give back for Ryan Presosowski as he went wide on that last small straight. The secret car of Ian McClure is battling for 10th position with Lyndon Bingaman. The two of them within a second of each other, which is not a lot. Anything can happen. A little bit too much throttle or a little bit under braking can find them within a second or 0.1 of a second of each other. So some great stuff from those two. Back up at the front of the race, John Wysork in the right-hand drive, Nissan. Comfortably coming around now. It looks like he's really found his groove on the track here. Sanyidu just coming into the background as these two make their way down into the boot. And here we go, the start of the lap traffic at 10 minutes into the race, so 11 minutes into the race. We are seeing the GT classes and the Group C classes starting to come together. So this will start making things interesting. GTO classes race their line. Hopefully the Group C classes can get around them and everyone ends up comfortably on the other side. There's no contact between cars, which is huge when it comes to this type of racing. If you ever watch Le Mans, the GT classes and the P1 classes, there's sometimes late at night they start meeting up with each other in terrible ways. Popping down to Cheeseball. As you can see, the front end of his car is looking not great as he goes wide again into the second to last corner, coming onto the front straight. He has a lot of damage on that car. We can see it here as he comes down the front straight. The whole front end of the car is pretty beat up. His mirror is twisted, so it's next to useless for him. And he's probably got a fair bit of suspension damage to go with all that. So an unfortunate car setup for him. He's going to have to struggle with that for the next hour and 20 minutes as he makes his way around the track. So the 3-pack of 9th through 11th of Luke Filippone, Lyndon Bingaman, and Ian McClure are keeping it close. There is about a second in between the three of them, so from the Audi to the last Ford. And all three of them have been driving a very clean race. We should start seeing some pit strategy happening at the 40-minute mark of this race, maybe the 50-minute mark, as the drivers come in for a set of tires and possibly fuel. You can see there's a half a second in between Lyndon Bingaman and the Audi of Luke Filippone. Andre Franca finding himself the wrong way around on the track as he's trying to get ready. He's got a couple cars coming up on him. He's got to be quick here. So he's trying to get it into reverse and straighten back up onto the track. And he is safely away. I think Randy Cruz is about 2 corners in behind him. So safely away for Andre Franca as he is going to have to make up about 30 seconds to the Porsche of Rudolf Stein. So at the 1 hour 16 minute point of the race, I think Cheeseball has decided that this race isn't for him, and his car damage has taken him too far out of the race, and he's chosen to retire. So the directors pulled him in, and he's going to be out of the car for the rest of the race. Unfortunate to have 2 cars out this early on in the race, but that's racing for you. While that was going on, John Wysork has lost 2 positions, so he's now down in 3rd. We have a new race leader in Sonidu as he passes the Ford. I think it is. Excuse me while I flick through here. Not Ian. That's tough with this I'm not sure who the Ford was that he passed, but we'll pop back up to him here. Oh, I think that's Jeff Lacey he just passed, actually. So you see Jeff Lacey coming onto the front straight. So Sunny-Doo is now made up almost 8 seconds on Theo Lupu and John Wysork. So very interesting turn of events there as we were looking into what was happening with Franca. Theo Lupu has about 5 seconds now between him and John Wysork, but John is no slouch when it comes to racing. I'm sure he will find time on that track, and we'll see a battle between position 2 and position 3 as we go on. Ryan Presosowski's forward in behind the Nissan of Felix Aprecio. These two started at the very bottom of the track. As you see, Aprecio finding not exactly the best line through that corner, but the two of them have moved up a little bit, so good for them. They're keeping it on the track is the most important part, and probably the most difficult part with these class of cars. Derek McCord just says louder. So I can't go any louder. I can turn the game down a little bit. That's about it. Sorry, the race noise. We see Theodore Insbury is now 2-3 seconds in behind John Wysork, so he's keeping a tidy race as he's coming up through lap traffic. We've got the battle for 9th through 11th, sorry, of the GT class in behind him. As he turns into the final corner onto the front straight, flying up the front straight here, it's Theodore Insbury in his yellow Nissan. He's going to pass by Jeff Lacey, who we will hop on board with for a lap around Watkins Glen. If you're just joining us, you are on board with Jeff Lacey in his Roush V8 Ford Mustang. The number 6 adorned with the American flag. There's 3 of them in the race tonight, so it's kind of tough to pick out who's who. He's currently entering the back part of the racetrack. This is the latest edition, or second latest edition of the track from its initial build. And it brings you down to the woods and a bit more of a hilly section as you make your way around and rejoin the original part of the track, which is closer to a loop than what the current track layout is. So this is a deceiving corner where you join back into the main straight. You can see on the right hand side of your screen as it's coming around, the track itself has a bit of a lump there. Very easy to upset the car. Just a smidge wide. There's Lacey trying to keep it on track. Hopefully he didn't take a penalty for doing so. And hard on the power down the front straight. You can see the world around him shaking violently as that V8's putting out over 600 horsepower and firing this car down the track. We've got our third retirement of the race. Felix Aprecio is giving up the ghost in his Nissan, so it's unfortunate for him. So it's 2 cars out of the GTO class now and 1 out of the Group C class. Terrible sight. Looks like we're starting to get a bit more close racing in between Theodore Insbury and John Wysork. He's now down within a second of Wysork's green Nissan as they battle around the woods. This Grand Prix layout is quite a fun one. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they did host Formula 1 here once. Somebody in chat will probably correct me on that as they do a quick Wikipedia search, but there was a Formula 1 race held here. I don't think they came back again because the track limits weren't exactly the way that FIA liked to have it. So this battle's starting to heat up a little bit as they come down the front straight. Theo has found the draft in behind Wysoric as they come into that first corner. Quite a hard corner to make if you're going too fast, especially if you hit that inside line. The curb there is very violent and will throw the car right off the track. We watch Theodore Ensbury push Wysoric as they come out the back straight now, so this is the longer of the two straights. Hard on the brakes down the hill. Wysoric going a little bit wide. He might be able to save this. Ooh, he's starting to get a bit squirrely. But he gets away safely going down the hill. And the second part of the downhill section, as you see the billboards whiz by. Ensbury trying to make a bit of time here, but he is losing a little to Wysoric. Going back up the hill, we're going to see some more. Oh, there again, we see a bit of a tail wag from the green Nissan of Wysoric. He moves to defend, though, keeping Ensbury at bay for yet another corner. So this battle's going to stay very interesting. We'll come back and visit them in just a second. We'll move back down to the GT class. A bit of a change in the order here. Lou Filippone has dropped down and behind now of Ian McClure and Lyndon Bingaman. So he might have lost a little bit of time there, sideways or slideways, if you will, as those two battle their way up the hill. At this point, tires may start becoming a factor, especially the front tires of the Audis. They may be screaming a little bit. There are a lot of high-speed corners at Watkins, and if you're not set up for it, you will just shred your front left tire. It takes a lot of damage, especially from turn 4 down the hill and the boot. Those three safely across the start-finish line for another lap. We are just over an hour away from the checkered flag. So Pedro let me know Watkins Glen hosted the USGP from 1961 to 1980, and I believe that's when they changed over the track layout and they stopped hosting that stuff. Sonidu out in first place. He's got a fairly wide margin built now up against Theo Lupu, who's running in second place at 13 seconds. Behind him is John Wysoric and Theodore Ensbury, who is fighting with him currently. So those two fighting will see that number grow. As you see Theo Ensbury get on the inside, coming around well wide. Oh my, he might have to give back time for that one. That's well off the racing line there from Theodore Ensbury coming onto the front straight. Theodore Ensbury manages to make the stick for now. He's going to hang out in front of John Wysoric. We will we'll see where this goes. Back down the leaderboard into 10th and 11th. Luke Filippone's diving up the inside, coming into the last straight stretch here. Outbraking Lyndon Bingaman, moving himself up into 9th place. Sorry, that was Ian McClure that he overtook. Now he's chasing down the Ford of Lyndon Bingaman. I said it at the start of the stream, there is going to be no VRP tonight. The server is not set up for it. Unfortunately, Steam Labs still thinks it's happening, so the robot is just sending out lies. So please come up with new terms. I prefer Riot. Riot's hilarious, but if you can come up with other funny ones, let's see it in the chat. Egg, I'm at the bar. Well, if you want to watch racing at the bar, that's on you. It's probably goes best with it, watching any sort of racing and having a beer with it. I know I am. Ian McClure continues to lose a bit of time here to Luke Filippone as those two make their way up to catch Lyndon Bingaman. Ahead of the two of them, Jeff Lacey's worked himself into a very comfortable margin. He's got 5 seconds behind him, and in front of him, he's got 10 seconds up to Randy Cruz. Randy Cruz is currently dominating the GTO class in his Audi as he flies onto the front straight here. We see a bit more smoke in that front pit there. I'm not sure who pulled into the pit. I'm not too sure what happened there in the pit. You can check to see, John Wysork maybe? Yep, John Wysork is now into the pit. I believe he is taking a bit of fuel here, and he's probably going to take tires as well. So let's keep an eye on him quickly to see if the car bounces up in the air as the tires come on. Watching as the battle for 10th place wages on the right-hand side of your screen. There's Sandidu to take a lap now on John Wysork in the pits. Quite a long pit stop here from John, so he must be taking quite a bit of fuel. He's probably trying to push it to the end of the race. Let's see if this 2-stop works for him. Or 1-stop, I should say. I think it's going to be a 2-stop for them anyways. Fuel economy is not something that came as an option for the Group C cars. They bring in air and fuel and output insane amounts of power. So yes, you can see that car lifting straight up off the ground. That's telling me that he's taking all 4 corners of fresh tires, and I believe he is going to stay on the soft compounds. So he is going to be back out on the racetrack here momentarily once that car drops down. Lights on, engine fired up. Slight angle and safely, oh no, not safely out of the pits. Off the pit limiter just a bit early for John Wysork, so he's going to get a drive-through penalty. So in the next 3 laps, he's going to have to serve a penalty of driving through the pit lane. A little bit of a parade for all the guys in the paddock. Bit of shame on that one, but unfortunate pit limiter issue there for John Wysork leaving pit entry. Oh, bit of tire smoke there as San Idu comes into the pit lane. Watching him pull into his paddock. He'll probably do the same sort of strategy as what Wysork did. Take a ton of fuel and change all 4 corners. These cars are just eating their tires up. We won't make you sit and watch a car in the pit lane. We will move on to look at what's going on down in the GTO class. So the real racing right now is occurring between these two, Luke Filippone and Ian McClure. Just behind them we see the white Porsche, I think is Rudolf Stein. Nope, it's going to be Andre Franca. So he's going to be diving in around these two, trying to keep pace. Oh, a little bit of a touch there. Pushing the car of Ian McClure wide off the track. That's not where you want to be right now. Hopefully he doesn't do the same here with Luke Filippone. Luke's giving him the room. Rudolf Stein down through safely, so no injury there to Luke Filippone. Unfortunately, Ian McClure did take the worst of that, and that pushed him off quite wide off track. So Ian now back on the track, and he's making his way down. He lost quite a bit of time, as you can see there. He's now 10 seconds in behind Filippone just from that little touch from the Group C car. Up in first place, the Theos. Theodore Ensbury is holding off Theo Lupu. As these two make their way around into the front straight, we'll hop into the rear view wing of Theo Ensbury and see if we can watch these two fly down the front straight here. The grandstands blur and bob in behind the yellow Nissan. You hear the wind coming over the car and the Audi sucking in behind it. I believe that was Randy Cruz that he just overtook. And Theo safely around him as well. The two come down the hill, down to the outer round. Looks like Theo Lupu got a little bit squirrely on throttle there, so he lost some time to Insbury. You can hear the turbos of that Nissan winding up a little bit, coming down the hill. He's feathering the throttle a bit just to get back on safely. And away he goes. Oh, had to let off. This is starting to lose it again. Down in 5th position, I think it is. Yeah, Andre Franca is now in the pits, taking his fuel stop with tires. And so far, his race has been going pretty good for him. He's kept it safe. He's running on hard tires, so we may see a difference in pace because of that. Looks like John Wysork actually switched over to hard tires as well, so he made a decision there that maybe the softs weren't the best for this race. Maybe the life of them isn't holding up under the demanding high-speed corners of Watkins Glen. And he's away safely. We're on board here with Ryan Presosowski as he's coming around the final few corners in his V8 Mustang. Sliding that car sideways. It looks like he's going fast. These cars, they want to go fast. You have to drive them on the absolute edge, and that's where they love being. I unfortunately can't stop the Streamlabs tool, guys. Yeah. It started and I couldn't stop it. I'm sorry. Things are starting to spread out a little bit now. The Insbury and Theo Lupo up at the front of the race here now have 3.5 seconds in between them, down almost to 3 seconds. In behind now is a 35-second gap between Rudolph Stein. San Yidu's 52 seconds in behind Rudolph, and John Wysork's a minute behind San. So you can see how pit strategy here has really played a huge difference. John took quite a long pit stop. He may be trying to go for the more endurance sort of race here. We'll see how that pays out for him. You see Randy Cruz pulling into pit lane. So he's your race leader right now for the GTO class in the Audi. So he's going to probably want to take all 4 corners as the tires on that are getting eaten alive by the all-wheel drive capability of that car. Rudolph Stein cleanly going around the track. He's picked up minimal incident points, and he's definitely not come up on the leaderboard here as having any sort of damage. So that's great news for him. We started the race with, we had 16 in the race originally. We've lost 2 cars to damage, and unfortunately 1 car to engine failure on start. Yeah, so we've kept quite a bit, a little bit of turnover here, but speaking of damage to your car, John Wysork, as you can see by the stream smoking behind him there, took a bit of a wide angle on the last corner as he does it again here on the front straight. Full spin, please don't go into the pits. Oh, let's see what John does with this. John has retired from the race. We are now 4 cars out of the race. That's Wysork has bowed out after that. Unfortunate second spin. Maybe a little fed up with the steward's decision to give him a drive-through penalty for coming out of the pits a little too quickly. Back up to your race leader with 56 minutes left in this endurance race around Watkins Glen International, the 1980 layout. It's Theodore Insbury. He's making a really good push here to make a big gap on Theo Lupu. I think Theo's tires are starting to fall off the car a little bit, as is expected. These monsters eat them up pretty well, but both of these guys chose hard tires out of the gates, and you can see here it's actually paying off them pretty well. They've made a wide margin in front of them, and they've managed to stay on track for a lot longer. So they're doing great with the hard tire strategy. Position 4 of Sanidu, he is pushing hard here behind the white Porsche of Rudolf Stein, I believe. Nope, sorry, that is the car of Theo Lupu. So even though it looks like these two are fighting right now, they're actually a lap difference in between them. So we may see Son get around Theo. As Theo puts a little bit of a gap on Son. We'll hop on board with Theo for a little bit of a drive along. Both of these Group C cars are right-hand drive, so if it's you've never driven a right-hand drive car before, it's a little bit disorienting because you're thinking you're in the right part of the track when you may have a tire over the curb or something like that. Watkins Glen is a bit notorious for the curbs grabbing tires, so if you get over top of them, they will pull you off the track and wide, or spin you around backwards, and you'll find yourself having to straighten things out quickly. Oh, Ryan Presosowski, he is down in, I believe it's 9th place. He's getting himself some bit of trouble with the stewards as he comes racing out of the pit lane. So he's going to have to serve a drive-through penalty. It's a bit of a bummer for him. Up in front of him is the car of Andre Franca. He's currently in P5 for the Group C class. He's been keeping it tidy. He hasn't had any crazy offs or anything like that. So good race for him so far. He's got 53 minutes left in the race to prove that he can muscle his car around. Just being on the track for an hour and a half, I think, is a race in its own. You don't need to try to beat anybody else. If you just get to the start-finish line, I think everyone should get an award. The leader of the GTO class was the leader, is now in P5 of his class, of Randy Cruz. He has taken a pit stop, so that information is probably going to change as Bingaman, Filippone, and McClure pull in. Jeff Lacey is also going to serve a pit stop as well. They can't push those cars for an hour and a half without running out of fuel, so we will see those four in the pits momentarily. Speaking of Jeff Lacey, here he is in his Ford Mustang. We've had 4 retirements so far in the race. We've had John Wojsorek, Felix Aparicio, Cheeseball, and Jerry Svetek, all due to different reasons. Some car damage, some penalties unserved, and other issues. So it's unfortunate we've lost 4. We're down to 12 drivers in this race. They have been keeping it pretty clean. We've got 5 cars left in the Group C class and 7 cars left in the GT class, or GTO class. So plenty of racing ahead of these guys. The group have spread out a little bit, so it's not as tight racing as we've seen before, but there's still a lot of chance for incident as these cars want to get away from you very quickly, and with 2 different pace of cars, that can happen a lot more often as you're trying to move out of the way or move around someone in a slower vehicle. So Theo Loop was still up ahead of Sonita in his red Nissan, as we see another steward decision come up here for Ian McClure. He just got a drive through for speeding in the pit lane, so I think that was upon entry, so it's going to make his life a little bit rough. He's going to have to go around and come back into pit lane. And Sanidu now just overtakes Theo Lupu, and Son's going to have to push hard now. He's got to make up almost 81 seconds to catch up with Theo again on the same lap. So even those two are fighting, they're on two different laps. Yeah, race leader Theo Ainsbury keeping it tidy out there. He is holding in at a 133.361 lap time. So he is second fastest on the track right now. The fastest one, as you guessed, it's Sanidu at 133.305. So there's not much in between these two. Theo's been lapping about 0.6 seconds faster on average than San, so he's managing to keep that car quick on the track. Good for him. After those two, I believe it is, yes, Theo Lupu, currently in second, is holding on to the second fastest time. So they are having some great racing. Oh, goodness, as Theo Ensbury comes together with the red Mustang of Calico Jack. So Calico Jack, finding himself on the wrong part of the track a little bit, gives a wide berth down to that Nissan as they come down into the toe. Close call for Theodore Ensbury out in front. Hopefully he didn't take any damage from that. He probably is sweating a little bit in the cockpit, but safely away. Down to P3, Rudolf Stein in his white Porsche is just passing over one of the GTO classes. The Mustang, I believe it is, of Jeff Lacey. As they scream around onto the front straight, pushing almost 300 kilometers an hour already. There you go, 305 kilometers an hour at that 330 kilometers an hour top speed. Down the hill we go. Behind him we have Lyndon Bingaman and Luke Filippone. So those are your P2 and P3 behind Jeff Lacey, who's yet to pit. These three need to come in and get tires at some point. They may wait for the 45-minute mark or later to do so. But their pace is starting to drop off a little bit because of the tire damage. But down at P7 for the GTOs is Ryan Presosowski. He hasn't had too much luck with this Ford today. He's had a couple of off tracks and a couple of cut tracks, so he's been being penalized by the stewards as well as struggling to keep the balance of the car over top of the curbs. It looks like Theo Winsbury escaped that touch with Calico Jack without damage. You can look at the front of his car there. He's got a little bit of dirt detail on the front of it. It's just some patina from going around this track. No obvious damage on his car, and it doesn't look like he's losing any lap time out there. He's holding within a half a second of his fastest lap times. So hopefully no worries from Theodore Ensbury aside from that little touch. You can see all four corners of that car. His brakes are quite hot right now. Even though they only weigh 1,000 kilograms, they're still going almost 350 kilometers an hour when they do put them on. So Cruz, it's Luke. Yep. So that was Luke Filippone. He just passed in his Audi Quattro. You see him rapidly downshifting as he comes into the outer loop. It looks like Andre Franca has called it quits as well, so P5 for the Group CE class cars. Andre Franca, I'm not sure why he retired. Maybe he had an issue, maybe he hit a wall. We can't really see what's happening with his car. He's just going to sit in the car and think about what he's done. Unfortunate retirement from Andre Franca as well. So that leaves us with 4 people left in the Group C class. We'll just pop through them quickly here. At the lead, we've got Theo Wensbury, and he's got a 13-second lead on Theo Lupu as he gets quite close to that Ford, coming into the final straight before the last corner. Theo Lupu's Porsche, trucking along happily. He's had a very uneventful race, so that's good to see, especially with these cars. Rudolf Stein also having quite a clean race. No damage to his car either of that 77. Sonidu had a little bit of off track, but he's managed to keep it tidy out there. Nothing too dangerous from Son going around here. Moving down to the 7 cars of the GTO class. So leading your pack right now is Jeff Lacey and his V8 Ford. So watch him go hard on the brakes here. Hopefully not too much of a slide coming out of this corner. So he's yet to go through pit lanes, and that's why he's maintaining such a large gap on the previous leader of Cruz, Randy Cruz. Another person who's yet to serve a penalty, not a penalty, but a pit stop is Lyndon Bingaman and his Ford. As we watch the red Nissan of Edu come down the hill behind him, so those two will be coming together quite quickly. We'll hop on board with Edu and watch that happen. Just watch the closing speed of this car compared to the Fords. So again, a very deceiving corner. This third to last. Son just a little bit off the throttle to give himself space so he's not touching the back end of that Ford in front of him. We'll watch him go hard on the power here as he pulls away. Looks like Lyndon Bingaman got a little bit more than he asked for, taking a tow from that GTC or that Group C class car. So he came into turn 1 a little bit faster than what he wanted, and he was up over the curb, luckily catching it and keeping things on the road. Now behind him, Luke Filippone, he's got a 15-second gap in between the two of them now, so he might be struggling a little bit to find time on the track now that he's got tire issues. Now would be a good time, I think, for him to pull into pits, but I'm not driving his car, so it's his decision here. Randy Cruz, he's holding steady with Luke. He's made up about 4 seconds since we last visited him in his Audi. He's been driving a very clean race, and hopefully his pit strategy pays off for him, and we see him back up on the podium for the finish. He had a very commanding lead before he took his pit stop, so we'll see what happens. Ian McLaren, the secret. He is currently driving in behind, I think it is Calico Jack. Is Ryan Prasowski? It is not. Who is he chasing? Ah, Lyndon Bingaman. Okay. So Lyndon Bingaman is currently the car you're seeing in front of Ian McClure. Even though it looks like they're racing with each other, there are actually a couple spots in between the two of them. Yeah, watch them come down the front straight here. We're going to hop on board here with Randy Cruz for a lap around in the Audi. We haven't gotten too much time with this yet. Let's see how things sound here. So unlike the modern cars of today, they don't have the sequential gearbox in them anymore. They've got the H-pattern gearbox. So you have to use 3 feet to drive these things safely, and time your shifts correctly, because square cut gears of the transmissions don't have a lot of play in them. So if you're mismatching your rev when you're putting the shifts in, you're going to find lots of metal filings. Taking a fair bit of curve there is Randy Cruz coming into the second to last corner. Like I said before, these curbs will pull your car in quite violently if you get on the wrong side of them. You can see him losing a bit of control as that car clattered over the inside of that curb. But Randy safely across the start-finish line and down into turn 1. A little bit of understeer. Away he goes. Up in the 4th position of the Group C class, Rudolf Stein. Happily lapping along. Top times here for these guys, about a 2-second spread from 1st place to 3rd for fastest laps. The biggest gap here right now is the lap times on track. There's almost a 15-second gap between P4 and P1. So this could be a little bit of issues for the car with Rudolf Stein. He may be losing time for suspension damage, or it could be the engine itself maybe having damage from overspeeding. Looks like Jeff Lacey. Yeah, Jeff Lacey is pulled into the pits, as well as Luke Filippone, as we watch the 2 cars drive through each other, because the game doesn't cause collisions while you're in pit lane, thankfully. So we'll see what this one is, the battle of the pit here, and see who comes out in 2nd place. Should be interesting. So I think he's up on block here right now. I'll hop in the car and see what happens. Hear the engine fire up, and he is away. Let's see what happens with pit limits here. Need another pit limit serve. Safely away is Jeff Lacey in the Ford, and behind him, these pit limits or pit stops will go a little faster if the guys actually came over the wall and did something, but they're just going to watch. See, a couple guys have the appropriate PP&E on. The one gentleman in his button-down shirt shouldn't be out there. Very cautiously over the pit line is Luke Filippone in his Audi. So fresh tires, tank of gas, and away he goes. Behind him, Ian McClure. Has still yet to make a pit stop, so he'll keep pushing his car around. And behind him, I think it's Calico Jack. Yes, Calico Jack down and behind him. He's got a 31-second gap, 32-second gap between Calico Jack and Ian McClure, as we watch the yellow Nissan of Theodore Insbury starting to grow in his rear window. Calico's point of view is what he's looking at right now, is seeing this car just rapidly grow. Taking a little bit of wide curve there. And he's safely away. Bit of a naughty line there from Calico Jack as he comes over the curb, taking up some grass onto the tires. Got a long straight to throw it all off, though. He should be fine. Safely away. Lyndon Bingaman, who has yet to take a pit stop, is currently the race leader for the GTO class. He's just in behind Ian McClure's secret car, who's a lap behind him. So once he pits, those two should be on the same lap. It doesn't look like he's going to take it right now. He's not slowing down that much. No, he's going wide. So seeing how long he can push this little forward. Behind him, Rudolf Stein is in his Porsche, flying along. And it's always fun to watch these two overtake each other, so we'll hop in the car with Rudolf Stein, and he approaches the Ford of Lyndon Bingaman. Oh, Lyndon taking the outside line. Dangerous change of position there for Lyndon as Rudolf Stein comes through. Let's see if things are different here for Ian McClure in the secret car. A little more cautiously around the Ford. Yep, there you go. Nice and safely through with Rudolf Stein. Theo Lupu sitting down in pits. As San Idu takes him over And in behind him is Theodore Ensbury. Theodore's sitting in right now getting another set of tires and another fuel up. As we see Theo Lupu's car float up into the air. The cars are fitted with an air jack system. You hook a hose on the side of it, pushes the car up in the air. Mechanics jump over the wall, change all the tires you want, and once the car's back down, you can fire the engine back up and get out back on the track. I'm sure Theo's in the car right now with bated breath to see if he's going to get a... he's taking it way long. Very cautious approach to the pit exit. He does not want to serve a drive-through penalty. Smart driving from Theo Lupu. Let's see if Theodore Ensbury takes the same approach to exiting the pit lane. Still taking fuel. Looks like he's topped out. Randy Cruz taking a pit limit issue. Or sorry, track cut issue. He's going to have to serve a bit of time for that. It's boring to watch Theo right now. We'll come back to you. Yeah, Rudolph Stein safely around the track some more. He started down, I believe it was in 7th, but he's managed to keep the car tidy around the track. He's made up 3 positions just from attrition alone. That's the way it goes. Ooh. Okay, he's going to park it here for a second. Hopefully he doesn't pull back onto the track in front of this Audi. Ooh, man. Randy Cruz is a little bit paranoid that happened. Seeing a car pull out in front of you, especially one like that. They come together, the body work on these cars shred off very quickly. They're not your standard road-going car. They've got a tube frame underneath them with a bunch of fiberglass over top. So if ever the two should meet, it'll be plastic and garbage all over the track. Watch Rudolph Stein here try to catch up that Audi again, hopefully safely this time. As in behind him we see the secret car of Ian McClure pushing around the corner for pit straight. Should see a very fast catch up here. This is an incredibly high speed portion, foot flat into it for 3 consecutive corners. Hopefully that Audi stays high for him. There you go, safely by the Audi of Randy Cruz. Randy will be smart to catch a little bit of a tow. Coming around this corner here. Sorry, that wasn't Randy, that was Luke Filippone. Just calling him Randy all this time. That was Luke Filippone in the Audi that was just passed by Rudolph Stein. The currently closest 2 drivers right now are Ian McClure and this driver, Luke Filippone. The 2 of them are 4.5 seconds apart. The board has spread out quite a bit. The 0.000 you're seeing for Lyndon Bingaman is a bit of a misnomer. It means he's the class leader for his cars. So he's not 0.001 behind Stein. He's currently leading his class, and he has yet to pit, so we may see him drop down the board here a little bit once he does. Down to P7 for the GTO class, Ryan Presosowski. A little bit of a sideways slide there as he comes around the outside loop, but he's safely away again. Down to the shade of the trees, so the track here starts to open up a little bit. Coming around this last hairpin, you can get back on the power and really start to push the car. Hopefully he doesn't hit the bump and go sideways on it like what just happened down the previous lap with the Porsche of Stein. At the very pointy end of the race, with a 5-second gap over Theodore Ensbury, is Sanidu. He's had a fairly clean race. I don't think he's had any issues. He had a bit of a close call coming into the pit lane. We saw a bit of smoke, but no damage, so it's good for him. as he muscles this Group C car around the track. As you can see, the infield is just packed with RV cars and fans, as everyone is super excited to see the classic cars fly around this track once again. These cars would have been the equivalent of I wouldn't say Formula One, but they're very quick cars. But the lack of driver assists made them that much more interesting to watch. So you have LMP and all these other classifications of cars. These ones were just raw power and a lot of downforce and hope for the best. The Nissans were putting in liquid-cooled brakes and other items to keep the cars on the track because they were putting so much energy into those rotors, trying to slow them down. As you can see, a bit of smoke come off from that corner as Sanito comes into the second to last here. Ultimately keeping it tidy as we are under a half hour left in this race. If you're just dropping in right now, we're racing around Watkins Glen International without the inside loop, the 1980 configuration. We've got 12 of our 16 racers left in the race. Sorry, make that 11 of the 15 racers left in the race. The leader right now is Sanito. Behind him we have Theodore Ensbury, both driving Nissans. Next up we have Theo Lupu in the Porsche 962 and Rudolf Stein in the other Porsche. Dropping down into the GTO class, Lyndon Bingaman, who is yet to put a pit stop in, is currently leading that class with a 50-second gap over this gentleman, Jeff Lacey, coming onto the front straight in his V8 Ford Mustang. Randy Cruz in the lead Audi behind him, not by a wide margin. He's only about 10 seconds in behind, so a lot could happen in the next little bit, especially with tire issues. Luke Filippone in the other Audi is 14 seconds behind him, being chased down by Ian McClure. And then a small gap back to Calico Jack in his red Mustang. And in the distance there you can see Ryan Presosowski's Ford as well. We had two Nissans in the GTO class. Both have retired, however, due to either crashing or other, unfortunately. John Wysork in the Group C car and Cheeseball in the other Group C car, both retired due to damage. As we're seeing Randy Cruz back into the pit lane for his second pit stop. This may be a bit of a detriment to Randy, and we may not see him on the podium after that. Unless something crazy happens out in front of him, he may be off podium now for having a second pit stop. Back up at the front, Lyndon Bingaman is just abusing this poor Ford. He is yet to stop for tires. He's yet to stop for fuel, so we'll see if he can muscle it around for another half hour. There may be enough in the tank for him to do so. As Calico Jack finds himself sideways, hopefully safely rejoining here on the corner I've mentioned several times during this race as being quite a bit damaging. It's the rejoin to the original track. There's a big lump as you're putting on the brakes, and if you can't get the nose where you want it, you'll find yourself sliding the car, or even worse, putting on power and spinning out. Up near the front of the track here, Theodore Ensbury's found another gear as he's closing the gap now on Sanito. He is putting in about a 0.8 seconds a lap faster time than Son. So the two of those are going to come together here as we get closer to the end. Theo really pushing that Nissan around this track. As you can see, that timer above him is dwindling down to 3.9 from 4. So he's quickly finding time on this track. He may have to get around this Audi if he wants to find more. As you watch Luke Filippone hop in the front of him, as he takes a very interesting line through the corners there. little bit of wheel sawing from Luke as he's pushing that Audi to its absolute limit through those corners. Unfortunately, the netcode here doesn't exactly show the best inputs for the drivers. The tachometer of the car is right on for what it is, but the steering inputs are a little bit jumping. Popping down to Ryan Prasowski. He is currently in front of Randy Cruz and Calico Jack, who I think is in pit lane. Nope. Calico Jack had another off, same corner as before. So his tires may be failing him a little bit as he is trying to push his car around the track a little bit. You can see those cars want to slide into each one of these sections. They don't want to do anything the right way. You gotta force them to. So Calico escapes damage yet again with his red Mustang. Randy Cruz back out on the track with his Audi after taking that second pit stop. Again, I think he may have misplanned his race a little bit. Unfortunately, he's not gonna make much time here. He's got 50 seconds to Ryan Prasowski in front of him, and over a minute and a half to the GTO class leaders. So, unless all of them come into the pits and forget something or drop something, he's gonna have a tough time making up that distance. So I think someone put a second gas tank in Lyndon Bingham's car because he is yet to take a pit stop here now after an hour of racing. He is maintaining a 50.5-second lead on the Mustang of Jeff Lacey, who's got about a half a minute on the Luke Filipponian behind him. As you see off in the distance, the car of Theo Lupu coming down along. Now Theo does have a sequential gearbox in his Group C car. You can see the gold lever on the right-hand side of your screen as he fires down through the gears coming into this left-hander. These cars have quite a bit of adjustability on them. The assistance isn't there though, so he does have brake bias. He has a little bit of things for changing the displays in front of him, but for the most part these cars are driver and car to get you around the track. As he quickly bypasses the car of Jeff Lacey. And I'll say it again, folks, there's no VRP on tonight's race. Unfortunately, Streamlabs didn't get the memo. We tried to turn it off. It didn't turn off. So there was no VRP tonight, unfortunately, to be given away. Thank you, everyone, for putting in your VRP requests and your riot requests. If anybody wants to release the bees, we can try that too. Sonidu was driving very happily, but as you can see in the background, there's a problem. He's got a yellow car chasing him down. Theodore Insbury has closed the gap from 6 seconds down to 4 seconds, from 4 seconds down to 3, and now from 3 down to 1.5 seconds. So Theo driving like an absolute maniac to catch up Sonidu as they come up to lap traffic. So this may be the point where we see some crazy racing between these two cars. Hopefully clean racing. I'm seeing now Lyndon Bingaman has just entered the pit. We will come in and check on him in a second. And I believe Calico Jack is also in the pit. We'll see what happens as these cars pull into the front straights. Rolling closer in the rearview mirror is the yellow Nissan. Theodore Insbury, he makes a pass up the inside. Side-by-side racing into turn 1. Insbury giving the corner away back to Sonidu as the Audis behind him goes wide. Randy Cruz getting a slowdown penalty for that bit of track negotiation. You see the speed difference between these cars as they approach the red Ford of Calico Jack, who has just left the pits. Stays wide, lets these two through cleanly, no issues there. Theodore Insbury pushing it hard against Edu, trying to force him to make a mistake. Jared Svetek in the comments. Insbury is coming. Yes, no, I'm sure the Edu is well aware of that by now. It's kind of tough to miss a bright yellow car breathing down your neck as you're coming into every blind corner on this track. Down in the GTO class, it looks like Ryan Presosowski's got himself in a bit of a mix-up here with Randy Cruz, as the three cars here are coming around the corner. The last car that you're seeing in that group is actually off a different lap. I believe that is Lyndon Bingaman. Nope. Jeff Lacey? Yes, Jeff Lacey. So Jeff Lacey is currently the P1 for the class. He's stuck in behind the Audi right now, but he's happily ahead of these guys. He's got a, what is it, a 40-second lead? No, 6-second lead on Bingaman and a 20-second lead on the car behind him. So not too much to worry about there for Jeff Lacey as he's cruising around with less than 20 minutes left in this race. However, Randy Cruz and Ryan Presosowski are battling it out for P5, sorry. Two of them coming quite close together there as Jeff Lacey is trying to say, I want to get by here, guys. Let me go. The two of these guys are battling quite hard. Randy Cruz taking a very aggressive line down the inside. We have a touch and a spin from one car. Randy Cruz finding his Audi backwards on the track as he's trying to shift back down into the appropriate gear and get himself back on track. He's going to have to wait for lap traffic to pass by though and be safely out. He finds himself going from battling for P4 down to about position P6. So unfortunate turn of events there for Randy Cruz. Moving back up to the lead of the race here, we have the two front runners, less than a second in between the two of them. Let's pull up your gap here so we can watch the live timings. As you can see, we're hanging under a second right now as we come down the front straight over the curb. Diving down into this right-hand corner, and now up into the S's. So out of turn one, up through the S's. This flat-out section, quite a blast to drive. We'll get down right on the track level here on the nose end of. That's not it. As Theodore Insbury makes the pass on Sandidu. See if Son that's sick. I don't think he will. He's gonna come fighting back, I think. So we have a new race leader in Theodore Insbury with a 0.3-second lead on the car behind him of Sandidu with 17 minutes left in this Watkins Glen hour-and-a-half race. Theodore around the left-hand corner or right-hand corner tidally as they come back up the hill, cresting a blind crest into the right-hander again. And hard onto the power. In the car with Son, we can see the gap starting to grow a little bit. Feels found his groove with his car for sure as we were on our 45th lap, coming onto our 46th. Ooh, Son catching that curve a little bit, unsettling his Nissan. It's going to cost him a bit of time. He's still safe. He puts the power down. I feel like Edu can do nothing but watch this gap grow between him and Insbury as the two make their way up towards the back straight high-speed section here. Cars are going about 350 kilometers an hour by the time they break down for the outer loop. And yes, Theodore is now up to a 1.5 second lead against Sanidu. So if he can manage to keep those tires underneath the car for the rest of this race, Theodore Insbury will find himself on top of the podium. The other Theo Lupu, he is down into 3rd place with a 23-second spread on him and about a 30-second spread about the car in front of him. I think we just had a spin. Yes, we did. We had a spin from Sanidu in the tow, so that's an unfortunate turn of events for him. As you see, he's got a bit of front end damage now in his car. And Randy Cruz has been ejected from the race, so he's been disqualified for not serving penalties. The stewards have had enough. They said, you've got 3 laps to serve this penalty. He didn't serve it, so they've asked him to take his black flag and go home. So we are now down to 6 cars in the GT class, and we are into 4 cars for the Group C class. So a little bit of drop off, but the racing's still quite fast here at the front of the pack. Sanidu was pushing it a little bit too hard as he was down into the boot, and he found himself going the wrong direction, unfortunately, as he was trying to battle with Theodore Ensbury. So he's got a bit of aero damage now. He'll have to struggle to get this car down at the end of the race with that wall adjustment that he's made on his car. At the front of the pack for the Jeff Lacey's leading the GTO class. And behind him is Calico Jack, who's not actually fighting with him, but is keeping pace with him quite nicely. Calico is down in 7th position right now as we watch the car of Lyndon Bingaman behind him sliding a little bit wide, but keeping things tidy coming into the front straight. As they come down into the S's, you can see he's built quite a gap now on Calico Jack as they come around through. Calico Jack in behind him. We hop on board, we can see what it feels like to drive one of these cars. So the miles per hour gauge is completely pegged all the time. Over 120 miles an hour there from that back straight as these guys come around the outer loop and head down the hill. Calico getting a little bit too pointed in as he's struggling to find traction here around that corner. The 670 horsepower of the Mustang is wreaking havoc on his back tires. I'm sure they're red hot right now, trying to keep that car going around. 3rd place position of Luke Filippone, and the now only Audi in the race. Unfortunately, Randy Cruz was forced to retire because he failed to serve his penalties. He was holding well until his 2nd pit stop cost him way too much time. We're under 15 minutes left in this race, and I don't think anyone else is going to take pit. So we'll see how that works out. Lyndon Bingaman actually did pit, so he's now 8 seconds in behind Jeff Lacey. So good race from him. He's managed to manage his tires well, manage his car well, and it's showing here. He's got almost a 20-second gap on Luke Filippone, and I don't see that diminishing before the end of the race. However, you're watching the rearview mirror, we are seeing the race leader, time leader of Theodore Ensbury coming up on Luke Filippone as they leave and rejoin the main part of the track. So this is that dangerous corner I was talking about before. We watched Calico Jack come backwards a couple of times. The 2 of these are racing now into the second to last corner. A little bit of a slide there. And we watch as Theodore Ensbury hopefully comes around quite cleanly. Yes, he does, off Luke Filippone, and away they go down the front straight. It should be a bit comical watching Luke take a draft here from Theodore as they come down to turn 1. We'll probably see Luke go a little bit wide just because he's got more speed coming in. We'll watch as he comes around. No, he balanced it well, so he did not go over that border there, and it's very easy to do in turn 1. It looks quite wide. It's not. It's 90 degrees, and you're gonna get track limit cut if you don't realize that you're carrying 20-30 kilometers an hour more speed coming into that first turn. Rudolf Stein, he's coming in behind the Ford Mustang of I believe that's Jeff Lacey, the GTO leader. It's easier now to tell the cars apart because we've lost one of the Fords, and we've lost all of our Nissans and one of our Audis, 2 of our Audis, sorry, for the GTO class. But as he chases down the GTO car, we will watch the onboard view from Jeff Lacey. He's peeking over the wing. As these these two gap across. So very quick stuff there from Rudolf Stein coming into turn 1. We say bye-bye now to Mr. Lacey as he gets all 700 plus horsepower down through the S's. Unfortunately, down in the second place now for the Group C class, Sanidu has continued to lose time to Theodore Ensbury, so he may have taken a little bit more than just some aero damage in that incident at the bottom of the boot. He's now down 16 seconds from the original 13, so slowly losing time to Theodore Ensbury up in position 1. As he crosses the start-finish line on lap 50, we are less than 10 minutes left in this race here at Watkins Glen. Ryan Presosowski in between the cars of Jeff Lacey and Calico Jack. He's been driving a fairly clean race. He's had a couple of offs and a little bit of sideways driving, but for the most part, been pretty clean. Hasn't come together with any other cars on the track. He's been pretty good with keeping his line when the faster cars are overtaking. So, you know, it's what you want to see in a race car driver. You don't want to have a guy that's a little bit unpredictable in the corners, especially when you're not racing with him. Ryan's moved up from, I believe it was P8 or P9 in the leaderboard all the way up into P5. So it's great stuff from him to keep that Mustang under control for almost 51 laps. This goes just a little wide there. We may see a track cut issue from him. No, the stewards will let that one go. They said, okay, you tried. He is about a lap over Calico Jack, the red car in front of him, as we watch Theodore Ensbury now pulling in behind him. So we've got the lightning fast Ensbury coming up on Presosowski and soon to take over Calico Jack. High speed section, let's see where Calico goes. Calico stays down the inside, so that's wonderful stuff from him as you peek out the rear wing and you watch that forward drift off into the horizon. So a beautiful set of overtaking there from Theodore. Kept it clean. Didn't come together with any of the GTO class, and all 4 of those drivers got away safely. Next up is Sanidu. He's going to be doing the same thing here shortly. He's probably got about a 30-second time between him and the cars in front. These cars lap the track about 15 seconds faster, 10 to 15 seconds faster than the GTO classes. So for them to overtake each other, it happens quite quickly. The 133.305 is still standing for Son as the fastest lap on the track. And for the GT classes, it's going to be the 145.335 of Jeff Lacey as the fastest lap for the GT classes. As you can see, Jeff Lacey coming across the start-finish line for his 52nd lap start. And there you go, the 2 P1 cars on the same portion of the track. A little bit of a gap in between the two of them, but both on the start-finish line coming through. So hopefully these guys can get past each other without any headaches and get back to racing their race. It's always an awkward handshake when you're driving a car completely outclassed by another one. But the respect between drivers is definitely apparent here as these two come together on the back straight. Watch Theo take the right-hand lane and safely by Jeff Lacey and his Ford. Luke Filipponi getting a little bit squirrely out on the track there and got himself a track cut, so he's going to get a slow down for penalty. So for him, he's going to have to serve in the next about minute. He's going to have to serve back some time to the stewards. This just tells him that you gained maybe a second or a half a second by driving off track. We'll just ask you to give that back. You'll take incident points with it, but if you can hand that time back, you won't get any further ones. If you fail to serve that time, however, you'll end up with a drive-through penalty. And if you fail to that, you'll end up like Mr. Cruz with a disqualification, black flag, go home. So good for him, that didn't happen. Sunnydude's now coming. There's a bit of lap traffic here, as you can watch. He's getting quite close to those cars. Passing on the inside of the corner as these two are starting to battle it out a little bit. They're not actually in contention with each other, they're just very close racing. So it looks exciting for sure, but these two Mustangs are just battling out. That's not a Mustang. That's not the Mustang. That's the Mustangs. Battling it out for the fun of it. It's definitely enjoyable to watch as these Mustangs race against each other. Down to under 5 minutes now as we approach the end of this race. We've got, I think we're down to 10 races of the 16 that started. We've got 4 left in the Group C and 6 left in the GTO class. Of those remaining, I think only one has damaged their vehicle to any extent, and that's Sanidu in the red Nissan. He's now down 21 seconds as Theo Lupu is gaining a little bit of time on him. That might be interesting. We've got 4 minutes left in this race. If Theo can pick up any more time on him, we may see another change in the podium here. But exciting stuff going to happen, I think, from those bunch. Speaking of Theo Lupu, we're actually going to watch him come through this lap traffic. A fair number of cars here to drive through, so we'll hop on board with him. So that was Ryan Presosowski. He just passed on the left there, and we watch as Calico Jack takes a big bite out of the wall there. That's an unfortunate fortunate spin there for Calico, as he's been struggling with that Mustang quite a bit today. He's had a few spins getting on the power, and he's now got a bit of hood damage after banging into that wall. Like I said before, these cars are not easy to drive. These guys are not slouch drivers. They're pushing these vehicles as hard as they can, and quite often these Mustangs will bite back. Up in the Group C class, Rudolf Stein still lapping happily now, up into 4th position. He's drove a very clean race. I've not seen any incidents come up with his name attached to them, and every time that he's come through lap traffic, it's been a clean pass, and away he goes. So he's lapping quite well, and should be happy with his finish of 4th position. Theo Lupu now within 6.5 seconds of Sanidu. So he's gained about a half second there. I don't think he's going to catch him before the end of the race, but you know, crazier things have happened. Sun is driving with a little bit of damage, so we could see a bit more of a gap there happen between those two. Yeah, so we're seeing it now. So we're down to under six second gap between the two of these drivers. Sun is in a little bit of lap traffic, so it is causing him a bit of a slowdown. But I don't think he's going to have to worry too much about the Porsche of Theo Lupu and behind him. Up at the very front, comfortably ahead, is Theo Insbury. He is still lapping quite competitive laps. He's just hit a 135.5, so his tires are starting to fall off a little bit. He's going to muscle around for 2 more laps, and he can walk away with a checkered flag and hopefully the top of the podium. As for P1 in the GTO class, Jeff Lacey has been racing a very clean race. He's been steadily pushing the drivers in front of him. Hasn't had any incursions or any off-track issues, and he picked the right pit strategy tonight. He had 1 pit stop, and he picked it at the right time. He came away with a full tank of fuel, I'm guessing. The 1-stop strat was the way to go. As we see him come down the back straight, Theo Lupu now pushing hard on him to make the pass and hopefully get some time up. We only got 1 minute left in this race, so we're on to the final minute as we watch Theo Lupu come up on the right-hand side of Jeff Lacey. We're going to come around the corner and hop on board with Theo Insbury for his final lap around Watkins Glen, 1980s layout. I'm going to stop talking here for one full lap, and we'll see you on the other end of this final lap. And there you have it, folks. Your race winner, Theo Ensbury. 57 laps in an hour and a half racing with a 23-second gap, almost 24-second gap to Sun Edu behind him. The P1 of Jeff Lacey now in the GTO class. He's going to be coming up on the finish line here quickly. As we look at Sun Edu coming across the start-finish line for second place in the Group C class. So a hell of a drive from him. And right on his heels is Theodore Ensbury. Theo pushing that car. He got within 3.5 seconds by the start-finish line. So he made up almost 25 seconds on Sun Edu by the end of it. Amazing drive from these guys as Theo heads off the track to start probably chopping donuts. Jump over to Jeff Lacey. Just missed Jeff Lacey crossing the start-finish line. So congratulations to Jeff Lacey for his P1 finish in the GTO class. Lyndon Bingaman behind him is just coming into the final corners. And Rudolph Stein is behind those guys. So we'll watch as Lyndon Bingaman comes across the start-finish line. We hear the telltale sign of somebody chopping donuts. I'm guessing it's the Mustang of Jeff Lacey. Oh, it was Theo Lupu having a bit of fun in his Group C car for his P3 finish. Good on him. So there you have it, folks. Driver of the day is going to be handed out to I believe Theodore Ensbury's got to take it. I mean, the guy started second place and finished first after coming back quite a bit of time. Fastest lap was set by John Wysork. Unfortunately, John found the wall and then found himself with a couple of penalties. So it's too bad for John. Would have been an awesome battle to watch for sure. Congratulations to the Jeff Lacey, Bingaman, Filippone, and Theodore Ensbury, Sun Edu, and Theo Lupo of the Group C race. I'm Scotty G. I was your commentator for the night. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stick around, we got a little bit more to cover here. I will try to get the VRP pulled up for the race so we can see, or not the VRP, the post-race statistics, if I can find it. Just give me 2 seconds. While I'm looking for that, I'm just going to pull up a bit of information here. I'm just going to put up something that you guys are probably expecting to see tonight. And that was this image here, the old North American RaceRoom splash page, often accompanied by much different the voice of the mind of ELO or Jason, as everyone knows him. Unfortunately, Jason has stopped commentating. He has stepped away from RaceRoom for a little bit. We aren't, he made his decision. I totally support him on that one. Jason was obviously an awesome color commentary as we as we've had in the past. He's his comments and his wit while watching the race was always worth listening to. So good for a laugh with Jason. Unfortunately, like I said, he has decided that RaceRoom right now is not his team, and you know, we bid him fond farewell. Like, we no hard feelings between us and Jason there. Just pulling up the leaderboard here, stats for Mr. Ensbury. Just hold one there. I'm trying to get the information pulled up for you guys for the post-race. I apologize for the time that this is taking. Alright, there we go. Ranked multiplayer. I'm trying to make it big enough that everybody can read it, but I'm not sure if we get it all on the screen here. Okay, so you can see on the screen, I think. Let's drop this off and bring up this. There we go. So you can see on the screen here, we've got we'll pull up the race winner, Theo Ensbury. And if we go down here and have a look, it looks like I can't see them. Why is this happening? There we go. So the big winner of the night would be Mr. Ensbury himself with the sorry, Jeff Lacey actually picked up 23 points on that one. So great job, Jeff. Sonidu picking up 21 in the second there. And our unfortunate hardest hit member of the race there was not John Wysorek. Yeah, John Wysorek. Yeah, 29.3. So unfortunate turn of events for John. Got a bit of a cut to his rating, but he's a very quick driver. Yeah. I agree with you, Amato. Yeah, absolute respect for Jason. I hope we do see him back in the community here. He's definitely fun to have around. I know people don't want to listen to my voice all the time, but yeah. Anyways, if you tuned in for the night, thank you very much for sticking around. Unfortunately, there's no VRP tonight, like I had said a couple of times. Streamlabs decided that it wanted to push that anyways. We unfortunately have no VRP to give away tonight. So thank you for everyone for paying attention and throwing the VRP signs up there. We had no dumpster fires here except for the Streamlabs not one to play. I'm Scotty G. Thanks so much for coming out to watch tonight. We'll see you next week.